Good morning, everyone. I thought I'd chat about tech and implementation this morning. We recently ran a LinkedIn poll asking people what they want to hear about during these lives. Questions such as, do you want us to read through our book? Do you want to hear about culture? Do you want to hear about returning to the office or tech and implementation? And by far, the highest ranking answer was tech and implementation. So I'm going to take about 15 minutes just to walk through these few slides. They're very colorful and just give you top line. Now, you could go and do probably a master's degree on tech and implementation, but we're not going to cover that much ground today. It's just more top line. So imagine it being just big content buckets that you could dive into every single one, right down into the mine if you wanted to. But I'm going to skim across the surface. And then hopefully it will give some food for thought. It might make you think about, oh, well, I might have forgot that. Or maybe I should reach out and ask some other questions, whatever it may be. This is the whole point of these lives, is to keep them quite top line, engaging. I know it's early. What time is it now? It's just gone 8 o'clock. So maybe someone's watching this eating their cornflakes, or they don't even know it's going on. But luckily, with the lives that we use a system called StreamYard. What that does is it puts the live out straight away across multiple platforms, where across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter at the moment. And when the live ends, it leaves it on as a recording, so you can go back and watch it at any time. The only thing that you do miss when you don't watch it live is you miss the opportunity to comment. So you can ask questions as we go along. But either way, even if you comment afterwards in the comment section, whichever platform you're watching it on, I'll be able to go in and answer those. So who are we? Very quickly, I speak about this every single time. So we are a digital FM company. We specialize in electrical engineering, but also IoT technology. What's a digital FM company do? Well, if you imagine every building that you're in at the moment needs to be electrically safe, needs to be electrically compliant. But at the same time, a lot of clients are asking FM providers, what can you do different? Tell me about my energy signature. Tell me how clean my air is. Tell me how people move around my building. And traditional FMs can struggle with that unless they partner with a technology company or design that themselves. So we've brought those two disciplines together. So we very much look after our clients from an electrical safety point of view, but also we can digitalize their estate at the same time, which is really cool. So as I said, this is a result of the LinkedIn poll. We'll keep these going. So I'll put a poll out every week, and then we'll see what the answers are, and then we'll chat about them. Nothing too in depth though, probably about 15-20 minutes. So I think it's important to start by saying any sector can be rocked. I think one of the things that fails to amaze me is a lot of people can sit in a set and think it is just the way it is. I know it's a cliche and it's an overused case study, but looking at Netflix, I mean, there is a fantastic video on TikTok. I think it's on Instagram as well, knocking about at the moment, where you've got one of the founders and he's doing a talk, and this is the point where Netflix are huge. Everybody knows who Netflix are when he's doing this talk, only a couple of years ago. But he's talking about that experience of when himself and his business partner walked into that boardroom at the height of Blockbuster's fame and power. And Netflix were very much new kids on the block. And I think they were trying to sell Netflix to Blockbuster, and the sum was nothing compared to the value of the company now. And they were laughed out of the meeting. And there's this line where the founder says on the plane on the way back, his business colleague is sat there going, "Oh no, we've really screwed that up, and we've missed our opportunity. This was our chance at the big time." But the other guy was sat there staring out the window, and he turns to his business partner and says, "Well, I guess we've got to kick their asses now." And then the rest, as they say, is history. Where's Blockbuster now? And Netflix is just a Goliath. And I mean, at home, I even think I used to have all sorts of different sort of media: Sky, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Amazon Video, Disney Plus now. And then you've obviously got all the BBC iPlayer and all that lot. I turned the films off on my Sky package because I thought, what's the point? I pay a reasonable price for Netflix, and the variety is just endless. And you can see mega stars, big movie stars, very relevant still, coming over and doing films just for Netflix. I mean, could you imagine that happening when Netflix first started? It just wouldn't happen. So please, if you're watching this and you're sat in a sector where you think I've been like this for 10, 15 years, nothing's coming down the track that I know of, there will be people looking at you thinking, I think I could go after this sector and really change it. And that's in some ways what we're doing within facilities management. We very much looked at that sector and thought it is in desperate need of change. Technology and processes and everything in between. And the sector is slowly starting to move towards that. And those businesses that are still sat in the FM world and are very much still focused on the traditional and not thinking about how technology and digital will change their business, it's a very dangerous thought process to have over the next sort of 5 to 10 years. A very good friend of mine and our CXO, Sharon, coined this phrase of eating your own dog food. And it's quite an interesting one, because I first heard it, I thought, what does that mean? Eating your own dog food. And when it was explained to me, it made perfect sense. What in a nutshell it means is that if you're the owner of a company, maybe the CEO, maybe you're a senior exec member, maybe you sit in middle management, or even maybe you are sat on the front line, but you look at a very small piece of that customer journey. How do you know what that customer experience is from the point of thinking of transacting with you to actually transacting with you, and then more importantly, having a good time and then coming back and transacting again? So eating your own dog food is, can you go back and can you walk that customer process, every single touch point? And that's everything from media to when they get into your store or when they land on your website, whatever that might be. If you're watching this now and you're a senior member of a business, when was the last time you did that? When was the last time you actually walked that customer journey to understand what's going on? And once you do that and you see the processes and the systems and the mechanics and the talk lines and everything in place to engage your customers, I can guarantee you now that you will come back with at least 10 things that you can change for the better. And that's when technology, and more importantly, the implementation of technology, starts to become a very serious topic. I mean, how many times have we heard this? I found this picture because it was sort of, it spoke to me of an ancient time when people prayed to the sun. And it very much, I've come across organizations and people in organizations that arguably still think this way. In regards to, well, we've always done it in this way. It's not, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And in some ways, I get that. Why change something that's not broken? But the danger is that it can be broken and it can change very quickly. And if you're in the mindset of not changing that process as a result of, because you've always done it this way, what happens when someone changes it for you? That's a very dangerous place to be. So what's the plan? You might be sitting comfortably now, but what is that plan in terms of how are we going to change? What are we going to do? What if scenarios are fantastic. I mean, when I was younger, It was a great game we'd play with me and my brother and my parents going, well, what if, and what if this? And if you've got kids, just have that conversation with them tonight. What if this happened? What if the dinosaurs didn't get extinct? What if the sun expanded or exploded or blah, 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 blah? Think about that in a micro point of view. What if someone came in and changed that widget that you make and did it cheaper and faster and better than you? What if? And if you sat comfortably now, being comfortable is very dangerous, especially when it comes to the tech side of business. They do say, don't they, that you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You read anything from Jordan Peterson or David Goggins, anyone like that, they always talk about suffering. And I'm not saying you need to constantly suffer, but you need to constantly look at your comfortability levels and take some time to go, oh, this is nice and comfy. I'm sitting in my long armchair here and I'm enjoying it, but don't sit there too long. Think about where the next potential change is coming from and how then you can use that change that is either an external force coming into your business, or maybe you've got some very aggressive change agents internally that you can use to your advantage to bring in some new thinking, some new systems, some new technology that can improve things. This is always the case. Always the case. I mean, we just spoke about Netflix, didn't we? I can pretty much guarantee you that there will be someone out there right now looking at Netflix. Maybe it's an ex-Netflix employee. Maybe it's someone who's got a fantastic idea. They will be looking at Netflix and going, I could do that better than them. I could do this, or I could do that. There'll be people looking at your business right now, working on ways to do what you do better, quicker, cheaper, and more importantly, with the customer right in the center of it. And it's these people here that are your biggest danger, because they might seem a noise. You might be the big boy in the playground, but eventually that noise can become so loud that people just can't ignore it. Now, I'm not saying that you should constantly fight every single person that comes your way saying that they can eat your lunch, but it is worth looking around and seeing what's happening in the marketplace. Who are the people making the noises? Who are the small people thinking, I could change this sector. I can change this sector. I've proved that I can change this sector step by step, step by step. There are people out there doing this. And I just reiterate that point. If you're sat comfortably now, or you're in a sector now, there will be someone out there at this moment having meetings, strategizing, thinking about how they can come and do what you do better. So what's your retaliation to that? How do you protect yourself from that? How do you make it so you can not only take their learnings, maybe there's collaboration involved here. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore them. Ignore them at your peril. And when it comes to tech and implementation, where are you going? I mean, how many times have people seen tech solutions or change agents or big corporate plans? They're always announced, aren't they, at big events, corporate events, talking about this is where we're going, this is the vision, this is how we're going to do it. And that's great. I know I'm going from A to Z, which is fantastic. But what about B, C, D, and all those different steps that have to go on that journey? And the danger is when it comes to tech and implementation is you see a problem. Great. You've identified that problem. You then go and find a solution that can solve that problem. Fantastic. But then what about all those people in the middle? Who are you going to take with you? How are you signposting that journey? You know, imagine before the M1 was built and before you could drive. And if someone said to me, right, Mark, you live in Leeds. I need you to go to London. So I know my destination is London. Off you go. I mean, to be honest, without a compass, I wouldn't even know if I was going north or south. So please keep that in mind when you're thinking about bringing technology into your business and implementing it. What are the step points? Where are the signposts? How do you take people down that garden path? I remember when I was writing a dissertation, and someone told me a trick that just stuck with me. It stuck me so well. Is that when you're writing any sort of paper, be that at university or in a business or whatever it might be, school, to be honest. Be careful of going from the start to the end really quickly. You need to take people down the garden path. And what I mean by that is you come out your back door, you step on the path. What's the path made of? What's at the side of the path? When I'm walking down the path, what am I going to see? What do I expect to see? That's a key thing. I don't want to see any surprises when I'm walking down the garden path. I don't want to walk down that garden path and then go, oh, what's that? I need to know there's going to be a green shed around the corner. And that's the same when it comes to the implementation of technology. What am I going to see? When am I going to see it? How's it going to work? And yes, with technology, some things can change. But predominantly, the big milestones can and usually do stay where they are. But the reason why they don't stick is because we fail to talk about it. That's the biggest danger. Now, once you've identified an area of opportunity for your technology and you find a solution, no doubt that technology will be very smart indeed. It could be an energy management system. It could be a piece of machinery that can distinguish between colors of a fruit or a widget going through that production line and move them off in various different ways. A bit like when you put your suitcase into the airport, it knows where to send them based on the flight. Super smart technology, but with all that technology, you need to be able to tell it where to go, where to point it, what is it looking at, what is it then doing with that information. And once you know that, and once you start to point that technology in that way, you need to be very mindful. And this is something that is always forgotten. You need to be very mindful of what that technology is going to find, because it will find things. And that's the beauty of having technology in your organization, is it will find things that people don't, because it is watching. If it's a sensor or if it's a counter or whatever it might be, it is watching 24/7, 365 days of the year, because it won't get sick. It won't have an argument at home and not come in. It won't go on holiday. It is constantly watching. And as a result of that, it will find things that us limited humans won't. But please, 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 when it comes to your implementation plan, I'm talking about when you're at this stage, probably you're at proof of concept, wider stage rollout, you need to be very mindful of what this technology is finding, what information is it capturing, and then how are you going to use that information? Because communicating that information out is very important, and you should do it, very much do it. But it can be a minefield, because you could have people that might be getting exposed as a result of your communication or what this technology is finding. So think about that. Think about, I've found this piece of information out as a result of this technology being implemented. Great. We've seen an opportunity to increase efficiencies. We can save money. We can streamline this. We can do whatever that technology might be looking at or finding. Now, please be mindful. Instead of running to the hills, shouting that the British are coming, just think about how that's going to be communicated. Who's that going to impact? Who's going to hear that information, and subsequently what happens? Just be mindful of what that data could do, because it can, and it does, expose people. It just does. Because as I said before, this stuff is super smart. And if it's pointed in the right way, then it will find things as humans just won't do, because that's the whole point of having technology in your business. But those people that are exposed, if handled correctly by you, or people in a team that are looking at the implementation, they can be your biggest supporters. Or if handled poorly, they can be your biggest nightmare, and they will block it left, right, and center. And all you're going to do then is waste money. You're going to get frustrated, and arguably then you're exposed for not thinking about how you then start to implement the technology based on its findings. And for me, this is probably the crescendo slide. This is one of the most important things when it comes to tech and implementation. It is so easy to go to market and find a supplier to do X or provide Y software. Very easy to find these people. But what is always forgotten is, what is that technology going to find, and who is it going to expose? Now, you might be thinking, well, if it exposes people that are in a lower position than me, So what? No, that is not the correct thinking, because you need to think about these people as becoming your allies and becoming your change agents, no matter what position they are. And then when you start to move up that chain, when you start to get even more senior and start to look at board level implementation, wider scale rollout, you have got an army of advocates here that are championing this change, this technology. Flip that around and do it the other way. Especially if you're in a heavily operational business, let's say you're in a restaurant or a hotel or whatever that might be, you've got all the operators kicking off saying, this isn't what I want to do, it's not right. And arguably it's because it's exposing some areas that they don't want to be exposed. Good luck in getting that implemented. I would argue that is probably not going to happen. And then unfortunately, you will just get people that won't change, no matter how good the news is, no matter how you've handled it, no matter what efficiencies you found or how you intend to roll it out or how good it will make these people look. You will just get people that won't change. Luckily, though, my experience is that these are a very, very, very small group. The danger is that this individual is someone in a seat of power. If that is the case, then you've got a number of decisions here. One, you either try to align his colleagues, he or her colleagues, to the change, see if they can cajole to get them to the same sort of thought process as you and everyone else. You go around them, but then you pretty much stuff to the CEO. And then if you do that, and let's say they're the COO and you go around to the CEO, then you're playing a very dangerous game there. Or the third is you abandon all hope and then just go and do something else, because time's precious. And this is something that I found with running a business is we've done proof of concepts for people before. Obviously, we spoke in terms of wider scale rollout. It's never happened. There is always blockers, and you've got to look at that very objectively. And it's a hard decision to make and just say, this isn't going to change. I think Gary Vee says this, doesn't he? He talks about, if one person won't buy it, there'll be another person that will. And even if you've got a proof of concept out there, and if someone's not just taking it to scale because they just can't see it, then move on. Just move on. What do they say? Stop flogging a dead horse. Just move on and do something different. And also, it takes time to implement change. It does take time. Very rarely do you get a rapid change situation. Now, that might happen when you've got an external factor, COVID being one of them. A lot of people change as a result of COVID and they had to change very quickly. But in the normal day-to-day of a business, change takes time. If you plan it correctly, it is a little bit like chess. If you plan it correctly, you can not only enjoy that journey, but you can make so many fantastic changes in your organization and in your team that people will look at that. And then who knows what else that could unlock in your organization. But please, please, please take time. Take your time to get this right. Don't rush it, because you're just going to waste a load of money. You're going to piss a load of people off. And it's never going to go to scale. Now, if you do have an external factor forcing you to do this, maybe it's, as we spoke about at the start of this, you've got a competitor breathing down your neck, or some upstarter coming out of the blue and absolutely hoovering up all your clients, then yes, you have to move quickly. Don't be shocked into inertia and not react. But majority of the time, just enjoy that journey. Think about how you're going to implement it and take your time. Lastly, before I end this live, I just wanted to talk about our Here to Tin Pot 2 podcast. So this goes out every Wednesday, 9 a.m. What we like to do on this podcast is it's a little bit different, to be honest, because we had a podcast before and we ran that to 10 series. We ended that and then we're thinking, well, what do we do next? So we wanted to do the Here to Tin Pot 2 podcast because it talks about everything. We did the first one on Dave Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. We did the second one, which is coming out tomorrow at 9:00, on the film Aliens, which was a fantastic film. I love that film. And then the third we're going to do on cars, our love of cars. And I believe the fourth is either another review of a movie, or I can't remember. But let me just check now, because I want you guys to be able to... So the fourth is going to be quite a difficult one, because it's about a book called Ordinary Men. And if you haven't read that book, read it. It is chilling. It's about the Holocaust. It's about Reserve Police Battalion 101. It is harrowing, but I think it's an important story to tell. So we'll talk about that in our podcast, and that will be on the fourth one. So tomorrow will be the second one going out. So that's Aliens, the film review. The third one, which will be the following Wednesday, we'll be talking about all things cars, big cars fans here in MKL. And the fourth, we'll be reviewing the very powerful Ordinary Men book. Now, I really appreciate you coming in. I've seen a load of comments, and I'm going to answer every single one of them. And yeah, thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed it.